From Brisbane. Would you buy an Armand Nicolet again? Great question. And the answer is, alright, hello again. As we can tell from the intro, we're talking about watches that we bought.
So a few months ago, I made this video on Armand Nicolet, where I was very critical of my purchase.
And because this watch looked so gorgeous in every single picture that I've seen, I was expecting the hallelujah moment when I opened the box. When I did see this watch for the very first time, I was really disappointed.
Fast forward to today, and Armand Nicolet has challenged me on my thoughts for their all-new lineup of watches. But is it deja vu, or has Armand Nicolet won me over? What's up, guys? It's your boy Rich here, back at it again. And let's go take a look at the all-new J09 Chronograph. Let's do it. This is a J09 Chronograph, part of Armand Nicolet's entirely revamped and new lineup of watches, and it is stunning. It is 41mm with 50mm from lug to lug, 15mm thick, and with a 24mm lug width that tapers down towards a deployment clasp. And what caught my eye about this watch is, well, everything about this watch. This case design is really unique. And the bezel here seems to be somewhat of a scallop shape. And, you know, I was thinking, where can I even begin with this watch? Because there is just a wealth of details on this watch. This dial color is in gray, though it looks somewhat gray and beige. It's available in the bracelet, also with the silicone strap and a leather strap. The other colors are available in black, white, a very pretty blue, and the black DLC, and they all come in the same options with a bracelet, silicone strap, or a leather strap. They also have a two-tone with rose gold on the bezel. So now let's get some wrist shots. The finishing on the Armand Nicolet is outrageously good. They did an outstanding job with its combined brushed and polished finishing. Its polishing is highly reflective and really fine brushed work. And the bracelet is entirely brushed all throughout here. And on the clasp here, it has their branding there, which is a combined polished and brushed and frosted. The finishing on this is just like I said, it's just outrageously good. And if we turn the watch over, we see the sapphire crystal revealing its movement right here. It is a very nicely decorated movement. It is powered by the ETA 2872, and Armand Nicolet has done a thorough job at modifying and decorating this movement for their specifications. In fact, they had to modify it so they could fit the chronograph module in here. It is really nicely finished, and it is a very attractive movement here with their own custom rotor, and there is a lot of gold in here. It's really brushed gold, and the knurled bezel kind of right here out on the outside of the sapphire crystal there. This is a lot of work to the movement, and I am actually a really big fan of ETA movements because I've always had great luck with them. They have always been dependable and always accurate. And I understand whenever we chirp about an ETA movement, it's usually when they charge Rolex money, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 for an ETA movement. But when a watch company actually modifies a movement a lot, it often becomes a new movement, a better movement, and that seems to be the case with what Armand Nicolet has done. They have done a really good job at deconstructing this movement to make this movement a really fine movement. It is, you know, that gold on there is really very attractive. Now let's give this lovely dial its proper attention, which is done in a gray beige kind of color. And the number 12 and the indices are gold, and they are applied indices. And you can see the lume that's in the center of each of the indices. It is a really nice lume. And the two registers at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock have those nice black accents. And if we notice what looks like at first glance a long seconds hand, it is not. The seconds is actually right here at the 3 o'clock register. This will control the timer. But the first half of this is done in gold, and then the second half is done in sort of a needle finish, which is in black, which matches the accents on the two registers. It comes together really nicely. And one of the other things we need to talk about, something that's always neglected, is to talk about the quality of the pushers. We never talk about this, and that's probably because most of us don't use the chronograph functions. But these pushers deserve attention because they're actually really top quality. They offer just a right amount of resistance. They're not overly sensitive and with the right amount of resistance. And it just feels good when we use them. So the top pusher here will control the timer. So It has a really nice click and a really nice feel that promotes the really smooth gliding hand right there. And it's really responsive. It stops right away. It continues right away. Stops right away. And you'll notice that it doesn't leave any dent on my fingertip the way that it would if you had to really push really hard on it. And the bottom pusher right here will reset the time. So the second you'll see it go right back. Everything about the J09, from its finishing to its outstanding build quality to its buttery smooth pushers and to its really lovely movement, really lend itself to a really true high-end watch. The price of the J09 Chronograph is 4,800 Swiss francs, or roughly $4,900. And we're back, and we have to talk about the history of Armand Nicolet, because they are one of the oldest and storied Swiss watch brands we have. In fact, they're even older than Rolex and Tudor. They were established in 1875 in Tremelin, Switzerland. But like a lot of the other top Swiss watch brands, they were affected by the quartz crisis of the 70s and 80s, largely due to the Seiko Astron. Up to that point, most of the watches were mechanical in movement, which caused a lot of the Swiss watch brands to have a period of dormancy where they had to close their doors while they were playing catch-up to the quartz watch. But then in 1987, Rolando Braga resurrected the brand and reopened its doors. I live in the US, and while some of us are familiar with Armand Nicolet, not enough of us are familiar with them. In fact, they have a much greater presence in Europe and Asia, and a lot of you were quick to come to their defense from my last video. They always have a steady presence at Baselworld. They have their own boutiques and are carried in high-end third-party stores. But in the US, it's a different story. But for those of us who live in the US and aren't as fortunate to be able to see or handle Armand Nicolet in person, and because of the heavily discounted models on Ashford.com, it probably gives off the perception that it is just another internet watch with a high, bogus MSRP low asking price, when in fact, that is not accurate at all. In fact, my Jean Richard right here, my JR, I only paid $699 and it had an MSRP of $4,250. JRs, Jean Richards, are priced anywhere from $3,000 on up to $8,000. But as someone who owns a JR and is fond of his JR, this is no $4,000 watch. And that's part of the problem that it gives off when we see discounted Armand Nicolets. But to be fair to Armand Nicolet, these are not the new models of watches carried by Ashford. They are the older discontinued models. They are heavily discounted on Ashford.com, much what we would expect from a gray market store. We don't think anything of it when we see a Breguet or Omega or Breitling heavily discounted, because we know about those brands. We just think to ourselves that those are great deals. So I think the watches carried on Ashford.com give a false impression of what Armand Nicolet is all about. As an owner of a JR, I can tell you that the JRs are not even close to the build quality of Armand Nicolet. Still, most of us are intrigued and interested in the Armand Nicolet brand, because most of the owners' quality comments are quality comments. They have positive experience with them, and I think my video might have been one of the only negative videos on that. And like I said, most of you really came to the quick defense of Armand Nicolet. And if we delve further and poke around further, we'll notice that Armand Nicolets are not heavily discounted on other stores outside or other than Ashford.com, and the way that JRs are. JRs are abundantly or plentifully available, heavily discounted everywhere. But not so with Armand Nicolet. And Armand Nicolet believes in their watches. They know the value of the watches, and they don't compromise by distributing their watches heavily discounted. They know their value, and for anyone who knows their value, you have to stick with what you believe in. I think the J09 Chronograph is priced competitively and is even better than, dare I say it,
Do it.
the Omega Speedmaster with the Lamania movement, and is priced competitively with Tudor and a lot less than many Breitling models. So I think the Armand Nicolet provides a really nice alternative to the very crowded entry-level luxury market. And speaking of prices, Armand Nicolet offers something new on their website that wasn't available during my last Armand Nicolet video, and it's called their trade-in section, which means we can trade in any of our watches, not just an Armand Nicolet, for an Armand Nicolet. That might have just sounded confusing. Let me rephrase that. What that means is we can trade in any of our watches for an Armand Nicolet. And I think that is the best way to be able to buy a watch directly from the brand or manufacturer, which is an upgrade from buying directly from an AD, as fewer hands touch it. And if we can get a discount, all the more better. There's just something special about getting a watch directly from the manufacturer. One of the things we should talk about is one of the things we never talk about, and that's quality customer service. It is easy to get decent customer service leading up to the sale, but very different post-sale. And Armand Nicolet has excellent customer service. They are very professional and very quick in their response. Even though I didn't buy my first Armand Nicolet from them, they were always happy to answer any questions. And that gives me a real sense of confidence, especially because I don't have access living in the US to most of the Armand Nicolet watches. I enjoy almost everything about Armand Nicolet. I really appreciate their lengthy history and their current lineup of their all-new watches and where they are headed. I think Armand Nicolet continues to have a bright future. Earlier in my last video, I asked this question.
Bob from Brisbane, would you buy an Armand Nicolet again? Great question. And the answer is...
So, if the answer isn't already obvious, the answer is yes. Armand Nicolet has easily won me over. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time. I think a lot of you are aware I am a really big fan of Tudor, but Armand Nicolets are actually better made, better finished. Ooh, that might cause a bit of a sticky situation in the comment section, but it's true. I find Armand Nicolet to be one of... I find Armand Nicolet to be one of the better... I live in the Ukraine. No. I should know where I live. I live in the US, and while...